Today's August 3rd, 2025. Current Bitcoin price is $113,846.
Welcome to the BitBite podcast, your source for news and information about Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space. This podcast is meant for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not financial advice.
How are you doing, Rick?
Oh, not too bad. I mean, Bitcoin could be doing better, but it was doing worse a little bit ago.
That is true. It's kind of funny sitting at 113,000. Like we're like, man, Bitcoin's not doing so hot. And it's funny, like if you look at crypto Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Jesus, I'll never get that name out of my head. Everybody's like, oh my God, are you guys freaked out by this dip? It's like, we're like at $113,000. Yeah, I mean, given our high was 123,000, so we've lost $10,000. But like, are people really panicking about the pricing right now?
I don't know. I guess we're getting a little bit spoiled. The crypto community.
Yeah, I think we're jaded. I still don't feel I still haven't felt the euphoria. We've talked about this.
Yeah,
like it all just kind of seems to make sense.
I mean, we've felt some good times when there was like, $10,000 gains here and there, but it's not omnipresent, like where we just had that month where, gaining 20% of value in, just a span of a few weeks, and it just would do it again back to back and be like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Not the same.
No, not the same. Not the same at all. And even last time we recorded, which, I mean, it's been a couple weeks, I think. Or right at a couple weeks, we were at the kind of the $120,000 mark when we recorded last time. We saw I think our theoreticals were at the highest they've been in a while. And I think actually Bitcoin just closed the month at the highest level it's ever had at this point for the month of July, but which was still 115,000, which was off kind of the high that we had at the 123. But still kind of interesting to see. Speaking of the theoreticals, though, how are we doing with this recent dip?
Well, if you would have bought $3,000 worth of Bitcoin back in October 2023, you would have been able to purchase 0.0885 Bitcoin, and that purchase, $3,000, is now worth $10,075. So still pretty good, more than triple.
Yeah.
The second theoretical purchase right at the halving, basically April 19th, 2024, $1,000 would have been able to net you 0.01564, which is now worth $1,781. So still a 78% increase.
Yeah.
Still waiting for it to double.
Yeah, that's not too bad. So we're basically off $103 from the previous recording that we had done on the theoreticals for the second one.
For the second one, yep. And about $600 on the first one. So, it was starting to push up towards 11,000. So,
yeah. No, I mean,
still.
I still would take it. I think it's still a pretty good return. We were kind of commenting, looking at the flows for the ETFs. And it looks like we had our second highest record outflow day on August 1st. Almost $1 billion worth of outflows that day.
And it was all of them, pretty much.
Pretty much. Except for Valkyrie, Van Eck, and I can't read what that
HODL
one is. Is that HODL? Yeah, well, they did nothing. But I mean, they have done, like, they've been pretty sad in their performance for the most part.
Yeah, if they don't even have any coins to lose on their worst day, so,
yeah,
it's HODL.
No, yeah, it's been quite a roller coaster in that regard. China banned Bitcoin for the umpteenth time, or at least there's allegations that it's going to get banned again. But it looks like, I mean, for those of you that may be new to the crypto space and Bitcoin in general, China's had a love-hate relationship with Bitcoin for an extremely long time. It seems like they just ban it whenever they catch a whim to. I don't understand their rhyme or reason. The other thing is I never know when it's announced that it's unbanned again, Because I don't know how you ban something and then ban it and ban it. And obviously, I mean, it shows you how resilient the Bitcoin market is, because if they can continue to ban it over and over and over and it doesn't really change anything.
I just don't think they ban it or unban it. It just stays. And then and you said it's a love-hate relationship. It's more of a tolerate double-hate relationship. They tolerate it for a little bit and then they go, why can't we ban you guys? We're banning you again.
Yeah. It looks like the relationship kind of started in 2013. And that was, they basically banned banks from handling Bitcoin transactions. 2017, they shut down domestic crypto exchanges and banned ICOs. Because if you remember during that time, for those of you that were around the markets in 2017, like everybody was doing ICOs, which was initial coin offerings, which were kind of different than an IPO, but it was kind of the same thing. And that's where like there were meme, that's where you saw a glut of coins get put into the market during that time. A lot of scams. There was a lot of shit that was going on. So that probably, I mean, in that sense, it probably needed to happen. 2019, they reaffirmed their crypto trading ban. So they kind of let it lull for a couple years and then hit it again. 2020, they targeted crypto mining in certain provinces, which actually we saw the big shift happen during that time where most of the mining was actually taking place in China. And then it moved over to the States.
That was a really interesting one because all of a sudden the hash rate of the network went down significantly, but then it just accumulated elsewhere and then it was back to all-time highs shortly thereafter.
Yeah, well, I want to say it was less than 3 months or something like that.
Yeah.
Like you saw a huge dink in the hash rate. Like it dropped significantly. And then 3 months later, it was back to where it was before. And then beyond that, like it was higher than ever previously. 2021, full ban on crypto mining and trading. 2022, banned crypto-related social media accounts. And now, again, in 2025, it looks like they're alleging a ban on private ownership. So
I don't know. That's just kind of interesting. The fact, I think China can ban pretty much everything else in their country. It's going to stick. But Bitcoin just seems to be totally resistant.
It's a cockroach.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Mm.
Just continually seems to like peer its head up. And we were kind of talking about this before we got going. Like, I'm not sure, like, if I could pinpoint one specific thing that has caused to the dip in the current price. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, I mean, is there anything that stands out in your mind as to why we're seeing the dip right now?
I'm not too worried about it. I don't know why it's happening, but the cycles tend to happen. Things will find a new high and then they'll find a relative low. It's just something I've been watching, and I don't get too worried about it. If it really tanks, if it was going like down to 100 or below, I'd be getting a little bit more worried.
Yeah.
But right now, I mean, 112, and we're complaining about that. That's not too bad.
No, it's not. I mean, and realistically speaking, like 112 off of a high of 123, it's not much within the crypto market. That's what, less than 10%?
Yeah. Well, the previous one back in March, April, that time frame, that previous high was 108, which we're above right now. And then it went all the way down to like 74.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty good drop. I mean, that's over 25%. So maybe even closer to 30. But yeah, I'm not too worried. This is par for the course.
Yeah, I agree. And there's been a lot of stuff that's been happening, I guess, on the macroeconomic front. When you look at most things right now, there's a sea of red across most of the markets. I think there's fears again with Trump tariffs. I mean, because it's on again, off again. I think August 1st, a bunch of them were supposed to go into a place. I think some of them got kicked down the road again. I know Mexico for sure, like Trump kind of pushed that off because they're trying to strike a deal. I think there was a big win with the EU not too long ago, or I think was that last week?
Oh yeah, they got a deal for gas or something like that.
Yeah, it seems like it's a reciprocal 10% between the two countries. which I mean is good, but nothing's. I think really what it's going to come down to, like on the tariff front, they're waiting for China. That's basically going to be the harbinger of what's going to happen with the tariffs. Like if they can get China to a good deal, then, and I thought we had one kind of done, but who knows? I don't know what the rhetoric from Trump sometimes, because it sounds like everything's a win to him, but it's never confirmed until later.
He's just a public relations marketing guy. Like nothing's ever a loss. It's just, oh, well, it's a win. No matter what, we lose, it's a win.
It's a win. Yeah, no, you're right. He does not admit defeat, right?
No.
That's his playbook. Is like you never cop to nothing. Everything is a positive spin.
Yep. And all good things are his direct result of his policies or whatever. So
and so some of the things that did come out news-wise, which I thought were actually kind of fairly positive. One of them was there was a lot of discussion. I think there was always having to put, for the ETFs, you always had to redeem in cash. So that means like you put in cash, they purchased Bitcoin based off that cash, then they would hold the Bitcoin. Once you completed that, if you wanted to sell, it would have to go back into cash. Like you couldn't transfer the Bitcoin directly to yourself. So now the SEC has approved in-kind ETF transfers. So that means like if you bring in Bitcoin, you can purchase Bitcoin, or they can hold your Bitcoin, or you can transfer your Bitcoin back off of their ETF back into Bitcoin, like without having to go into the cash. So that basically should be efficient, much more efficient than what it was previously.
Well, I think that's really positive in this aspect that I think there's a lot of investors who are purchasing Bitcoin with the cash through the ETFs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one thing, the real criticism I've had for the ETFs is they don't actually own Bitcoin because you couldn't redeem it before. And now if they can pull it off and then receive the Bitcoin to their wallet, I mean, they will actually have the ability to truly hold their Bitcoin. So that's a very good improvement, a positive development.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that was one of the things, like when the ETFs first launched, we talked about that. I was like, well, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And you're like, no, that's totally not good, because I mean, that brings up the paper Bitcoin possibilities, right? I feel like that could still be a concern. I'm waiting for the day that they're like, oh yeah, no, we currently have 22 million in Bitcoin being held. It's like, what? Oh, you can't be doing that. Hopefully that would raise a lot of alarms. Genius Act. I mean, obviously we've talked about that before, but it looks like there's a lot more positive flows that are starting to happen with that. It looks like Citibank and Bank of America are both already planning to actually launch their own stable coins. So, I mean, that's going to continue to put, I would say, buying pressure into the Bitcoin market, but we'll have to kind of see how that plays out. And then Clarity Act, we're still waiting for that to get approved, but that'll give better structure to everything as to what's going to go to the CFTC and what's going to go to the SEC. And then we go into some of the macro economic aspects of things, like especially for the states. The job numbers, only 73,000 jobs were added in July or in June. Is that right? I'm a month off.
I think that would have been June.
Yeah. So it was below expectations. And then they had to go back and revise 258,000 jobs less between May and June. So Trump got infuriated at that and fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
Well, they keep doing that. It was pretty infamous, at least on this podcast. We kept talking about the jobs numbers and how they were always revising them down after the fact.
Yeah. Well, during Biden's, there was like almost 1 million that they revised down.
Yeah, there was one where a whole 3-month stretch there. Oh, we're revising it down by 1 million. No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what?
And what was funny about that was there was never any negative press about that aspect of it, because they propped up, like when they came out with that $1 million or $1 million job revision, Like you didn't hear a whole lot about like, oh my God, like that's horrible for the economy. Like it was constantly pushed under Biden's economy. Like, oh, wow, look at all these jobs they're still getting added. It's like, no, you messed up.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the deal with the press is if it's affecting Biden, they basically pretended it wasn't happening. Biden wanders off like in its demented state and they just go, oh, nothing. He's just, having a walk.
He's just
million job review. They're like, nothing to see here.
It's cool. It's cool.
America.
Yeah. America. And then the federal government actually laid off 84,000 workers since January. So that's been kind of interesting too. Like that we've talked about that before. Like we kept on mentioning how we're going to start to see numbers from the federal government from their firing of people basically due to Doge and everything that was going on with that. And it looks like that's kind of where we're sitting with that number right now. But the other good win that we had right now too was the Q2 GDP in the States grew by 3% in Q2 and it beat the forecast. The forecast was 2.3%. And you brought up something that was kind of interesting because Q1 actually was negative, right?
Yep, negative 0.5%.
So
I was kind of wondering, is like, oh man, he's already starting off on the wrong foot with Trump. I mean, he came in, late January, but it seems like the numbers are good for now. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's one positive news. I mean, especially considering the job stuff. I mean, I think the bigger thing is that there has been growth.
Yeah. One of the things that I think is kind of interesting, it says that there was a sharp drop in imports during that time. And for some reason, it seems like that helped offset the weak consumer spending. So that's kind of weird.
We didn't have any money anyway, so
yeah, I think
we need the import for it.
I guess that's how it worked. Like we had no cash, so that offset the. Yeah, I mean, I guess it beats. Had it been what we had thought previously, had we gotten a second quarter of negative growth again, we would definitely be in recession again, right?
No, that's not true. I mean, speaking of the press and Biden, when he had that 2 negative quarters of growth, they said it's not a recession.
Yeah, I think we actually we looked up Wikipedia and they revised it even on Wikipedia, right?
They revised it on Wikipedia. And so it would have been also not a recession, I guess, if we're going to be playing fair, which, I mean, obviously the press will not be doing, but just for a thought exercise, I guess.
Yeah. And then, of course, Powell was infamous. Did you see the whole thing with Trump visiting the Federal Reserve's building or their construction site for their revision update, whatever they want to call it?
Yeah, I did see that interaction. That was pretty hilarious.
That was pretty interesting. I think I've got a question for you. Why is the U.S. taxpayer funding the bill for a Federal Reserve building, just a building project? Like, number one, the Federal Reserve is not federal, right?
Well, that's the whole ruse, and that's what it's keeping up with, because the Federal Reserve is neither federal nor does it reserve anything.
No, it creates it.
It's the third bank. It's the third central bank of America.
I'm just like, what? That makes no sense to me. Why are we paying for this building project out of taxpayer dollars when they're not a federal? I mean, they don't have to listen to the president. They don't have to listen to the government. They get to do whatever they want to. I mean, yeah, there could be pressure there, but yeah.
No,
anyways,
and that's kind of what started me on this path to begin with, is the creature from Jekyll Island, and the fact that when you realize that in the 1820s, when Andrew Jackson basically ended the second central bank, we didn't have one again for like another 80 years or something like that until Woodrow Wilson. So there was a time when we didn't even have a central bank, and that's probably the biggest I mean, in percentage of terms of economic growth, that is like the biggest growth that the world has ever seen. was in that period.
During that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Granted, it was economic growth, but still by the late 1800s, if you were earning $1 a day adjusted for inflation, I mean, you were about average. So, I mean, the economy kept growing after that, but the biggest rates of growth was during that time.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. For those of you that haven't read Creature from Jekyll Island, if you really want to get your head wrapped around how our monetary system works, I think that's probably one of the best books to do it, in my opinion. And it's because I think you're the one that convinced me to read it. And I think I don't even know what revision it was by then. But because he's revised it a few times, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I would just recommend you check it out.
And he's got to be in his 90s now, and he's still out there doing stuff, G. Edward Griffin. So,
yeah, we were talking about that. So currently going back to the interest rates. So, they decided not to change interest rates. They're going to continue to just watch. I'm guessing it used to be, I think we were initially going to get like 3 or 4 rate cuts this year was initially kind of the plan. And I don't think we're going to get any this year at this point, especially with the fighting going on between Trump and Powell. Part of it could be, Powell's trying to save face. Doesn't look like he wants to be bullied by Trump, so he won't do the rate cut. I think we talked about this where Trump he wanted it, and I think you brought this up either last episode or episode before, he wanted 300 basis point cut done, which would basically bring the effective interest rate down to 1.3%. Because right now we're sitting at 4.3. So, and you were even saying like that's ridiculous because like that's not a bad interest rate.
Well, in the history of interest rates, I mean, especially if you look at everything before 2000, 4% would be historic lows.
Yeah.
I mean, just looking at the interest rates, they cut interest rates in the 2000s after the dot-com bubble and basically created the housing bubble doing that. And then in 2008, it crashed. And then they cut interest rates to pretty much zero for how long? Like 8 years, basically the whole Obama presidency.
Yeah, it starts, looks like it's at 0.15% in January 2009 and stays that way until, looks like May 2017.
So basically they start jacking it up under Trump.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he's so salty about it. But, then they get up to a certain point and then COVID happens and they cut it all the way back down again.
Yep.
And then we saw the crazy inflation in 2021. And then they started jacking up the interest rates. And by jacking them up, they took them from basically next to zero to 4.3%.
Yeah. Well, and remember, there was already a cut there too. So, I mean, we actually went as high as 5.3.
Oh, that's true. We did go up to 5.
And then they did, I think there was 2 rate cuts since then, but it's been small, right? Because you even said, like, if they do a major rate cut, like if they dropped it by 200 points, like the market would spook because they're like, oh my God, what's broken?
Well, either that or everything that overheats and then, the money circulation, the money printing just goes in overdrive. I tell you what, though, it'd be pretty good for the price of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I think.
But
it'd be pretty bad for the price of everything if you want to buy something. So,
well, and we were talking about that previous too, like July 1981, the interest rate from the Fed was 19%.
Yeah.
19%. I can't even imagine what it was like to buy a house back then. But houses were a lot cheaper too during that time.
Yeah, they were a lot cheaper. So getting your 20% down wasn't much, but that's like the federal rate. So if you were taking out a mortgage on your house, you're paying somewhere around 23%.
Yeah. You're looking at like almost credit card interest on your home.
On your home or your, vehicle or whatever, even higher for vehicles.
Yeah. Well, so think about that. Like, dude, like when it became possible to refi your house And then all of a sudden, okay, so in 1986, you could refi for 5.89%. Not only was your house payment going down significantly, but you were probably getting equity. Like, I mean, that's a huge boom for people that were able to do that during that time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was a huge, huge amount of money that came into the economy from that.
Oh, yeah.
That's just nuts. And yeah, that just blows my mind to think about that. Because like right now, like most people that bought their homes during the pandemic or anything like that, you're locked in at such a low rate. Like to get you to refi, that's going to be, you either are in a really tight spot or you're really in a tight spot. I don't know how else to put it.
Like being forced to move.
Yeah.
Because everyone else, you're stuck in your house whether you like it or not. If you have those pandemic rates, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's, I don't know. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, it's a topsy-turvy time. I think we'll have to kind of wait and see what plays out. And I don't know if it's the markets are spooked from the jobs report. The Fed just didn't cut rates the way they want to. I can't pinpoint any one thing as to why Bitcoin is going down. I think it's kind of interesting too. Like we're seeing a huge amount of interest from treasury companies buying Bitcoin right now. Strategy continues to double down. I think Michael Saylor is trying to create a second or third halvening within a cycle just with the amount of Bitcoin he's buying. You know what I'm saying? Like he's just, dude, he is not going to stop.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. They announced like record profits. And during this whole period, and this is, in the past week when Bitcoin was kind of losing its crap, Strategy also went down in share price.
Yeah.
Even with all this positive news. So
it's ridiculous. Yeah. It's weird. Weird. Really, let's see what gold is the only thing that probably looks like it's kind of in the green. The VIX is in the green, which means the volatility of the dollar. Gold is up 2% right now. It's at 3,362. Silver's up almost 1%. It's at $37, which is pretty good for silver. Jeez, oh Pete, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever gotten up to 40, at least ever since I've been following it. Well, granted, I remember the good old days when I was buying it for like $10 an ounce or something like that. Way back when.
Yeah, and it still hasn't crossed 40 ever, huh? Looks like it got up to 39. 39.53.
Yeah, it touched 39.
Can't tell what that date was. Oh, stupid thing. I hate ads. Let's see. Yeah, July 23rd, it almost got to 40, but it didn't quite cross that. So, yeah, that's kind of what I've got right now. Like, I mean, there's a lot of positive tailwinds, but it seems like everything is just kind of in a topsy-turvy state right now. And I think that's still partly due because of Trump.
Yep.
But
I agree.
Do you have anything else you wanted to add today?
Nothing else for me.
I feel like at some point I really want to dive into the Genius Act. I think I was talking to you about that in the car ride the other day. Like I really feel like that's going to go somewhere.
I do. I think it's going to blow up the crypto market.
I do too. I think there's money they want to inject into the economy, but they're afraid to cause inflation in mainstream assets is what I'll call it. Because then that's just going to magnify that division between the rich and the poor even stronger. If they can pump it into somewhere else, it's not going to affect housing or anything else. I think that's where the money will flow. Ultimately, at the end of the day, obviously it's going to affect housing and all that stuff, but it's not going to be as immediate of an effect.
No, it's just I think you're right. I think it's a place for the federal government to unload treasuries and blow that market up, blow up the crypto market. And we'll see what they do from there.
Yeah, that's true. But thank you all for listening. And we'll catch you again this next week.
Bye.